Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and many of you may remember the Hong Kong protests. It wasn't that long ago. They were absolutely epic and rivaled any major protest event we've ever seen in the world. Honestly, obviously there's countless happenings around the world, uprisings, revolutions, evolutions, all sorts of things that stood out very much so in 2019 going into 2020. And of course, the coronavirus changed that all almost too conveniently. And now Wuhan, China is opening up again, though many say that we could be looking at another wave spreading outside of China from this opening because there's a lot of faulty numbers. We'll go into that later. But what I find interesting is that we are likely to see huge uprisings after all of this is said and done. As this article out of Yahoo News says, Wuhan rent protest shows unrest brewing in China after lockdown. And as this article goes into, dozens of small shop owners protested outside of Wuhan's biggest shopping malls to demand a cut in rent in one of the first signs of unrest since authorities lifted a lockdown at the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak. Sitting down about 1 meter apart, the shop owners on Friday sat or kneeled outside the Grand Ocean department store wearing masks and holding placards as police monitored. The police are always monitoring in China. A day earlier, they chanted exempt rental for a year or refund the lease in videos uploaded on the Chinese social media platforms Sina, Weibo, that were quickly censored. And I quote, "Can't survive," said a sign held by one woman who rented a stall at Grand Ocean, which also called on the landlord to return the rent and security deposit during the period of the lockdown. The woman said the property developer in charge of the mall, which translates to World City, should exempt rent for them because 99% of protesters are small shop owners and they haven't had any business since a virus outbreak. Most neighborhoods in the city are still facing string restrictions on movement, and there's little business traffic. Another protester said the government didn't respond after their protests yesterday and said the police had assaulted people on Wednesday. None of the protesters Bloomberg spoke with revealed their names due to concern of retribution. And this is one of the biggest concerns we'll go into in a bit regarding China. A woman who answered the phone at World City said they haven't restarted work and couldn't answer questions. A call to Grand Ocean's general office was not answered. Now, as we see in this next article here out of Yahoo News as well, it says Asia cracks down on virus fake news. So China is well known for restricting the flow of free information online or anywhere. People speak out, people protest, they disappear. We're going to go into that more so later on as well. And by the way, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button below and check the links below and help us any way you can. Share this on social media and join our new newsletter at www.iamband.com. Anyways, going back to the article here, as it says, hundreds of people have been arrested across Asia for posting purported false coronavirus information, according to an AFP investigation, deepening concerns that growing government efforts to combat fake news will target the wrong people and silence dissent. From teenagers to a TV star, people have been wrongly detained under vaguely worded cybercrime laws or broad state of emergency powers ushered in since the outbreak began, rights group says. And I quote, "Governments are using the fake news label to dress up their rights, abusing efforts to censor views and statements that are at odds with whatever strategy they have taken to deal with the COVID-19 crisis," said Phil Robertson, Asia Deputy Director for Human Rights Watch. And I quote, "It's insane, frankly. In many cases, it's people being dragged out of their homes to lock up, put in pretrial detention in crowded spaces where they're more likely to get COVID." Well, this is where the hypocrisy lies. And of course, fake news is an issue that we know well here at WAM, especially since this is the reason why we're around. Because of fake news, we are trying to combat that. But of course, we know how it's being used in this sense, and it's basically anyone that questions a narrative or has a different idea from the mainstream establishment narrative is going to be called fake news, whether it be China or the U.S. Government as well, calling things fake news and trying to censor it. In this case, what we see in China, it's very, very strict, and many people just disappear and aren't seen again, which is absolutely horrifying, to say the least. And we'll go a little bit into the reminiscent vibe that China's giving off regarding Maoist China, as well as obviously Nazi Germany, which a lot of people have been equating it to lately. Though I would have to add that Maoist China killed way more people. It's not a contest, but if we're going to compare it to anyone, they can compare it to themselves. But at this time as well on YouTube, they're taking down videos, possibly even this one, that not necessarily question the existence of coronavirus, but have different ideas of what the coronavirus might be and how it can affect people and what is really affecting people, and that being the government, which is more likely the number one most effective thing in this situation, which could kill a lot more people than the virus itself. We interviewed Dr. Shiva Ayaduri at WHAM a couple days ago, which I hope you guys check out on our channel under the video page on our main channel. They don't allow us to show our most recent videos on our actual main page of our channel these days. But anyway, he was the inventor of email and has 4 degrees from MIT, and it's really important that people check that out. But nonetheless, we post this kind of stuff on YouTube, and YouTube restricts it and calls it fake news, and it tries to take away our money. So we need your support now more than ever, guys. Anyways, one thing I really wanted to dig into here is, are we going to see people rise up against the Chinese government, the likes of which we've never seen before in history? I mean, we're looking at a huge growing movement against a massive beast of power called the Chinese government that, honestly, we were looking at the possibility of people really actually rising up completely, not just in Hong Kong, but outside of Hong Kong, in China itself, until this coronavirus outbreak happened. It was perfect timing, and it made a lot of us wonder, why did this happen at such a perfect time? And with all of these economic constraints, people will only take so much. People take a lot more than they should, but people will still only take so much, guys. At what point do people stand up and say, you ripped away my livelihood, you're incinerating people alive who might have coronavirus, people are disappearing, they're being strapped to chairs and electrocuted, it's just horrible things, we're getting into all that later. At what point do people say, this is insane, we need to rise up? Well, perhaps when they prop up all the major businesses and knock down all the small businesses, like government always does. They monopolize major monopolies under the guise of stopping major monopolies with regulations and taxes, while actually killing the small businesses. And nothing has killed small businesses more than this outbreak. I mean, it's unbelievable. And was it weaponized? Where did it come from? That's a question for another day, and we've got lots of videos on that. But right now we're going to talk about this Chinese control, which can very easily carry over to the U.S. and is currently. As this article says, that we've gone into a few times before, why did 21 million phone numbers disappear from China after coronavirus outbreak? Well, did the outbreak really disappear? Is it gone? Why are all these phone numbers missing? A lot of this, one has to question, is this maybe just a way to prop up China against the rest of the world as a new world order, so to say? The new global government? I think so. And this is something I've been going into deeply here at WHAM. If you haven't seen our video on the Chinese global takeover, or global COVID takeover, I definitely suggest you do check that out. It's crazy how many phone numbers have disappeared. It's crazy how many people have allegedly been locked up for daring to talk about this issue. As we can see here out of the Express, China coronavirus cover-up, Wuhan whistleblower disappears in mysterious circumstances. We're seeing a lot of stories like that. This one, coronavirus, Wuhan doctor speaks out against authorities. And a lot of people are getting arrested for daring to speak out because the hospital workers in Wuhan showed that Xi Jinping had all these people who still had coronavirus kicked out of the hospital so he can take pictures at the hospital and say that they had overcome coronavirus, which is another example of how manipulative they really are. And there's no surprises there. Keep in mind, this is a country that has concentration camps. Real full-fledged concentration camps that have been filled up hugely during the coronavirus outbreak. Here we have how China corralled 1 million people into concentration camps. Allow no escapes. Leak exposes reality of China's vast prison camp network. This is the kind of country it is, and they are tying this in with technocracy. We have to remember that Henry Kissinger met with Mao Zedong years ago in the 1970s against Nixon's wishes to create an alliance with China to prop them up as a massive monopoly on trade, which led to the creation of the Trilateral Commission under Zbigniew Brzezinski under Jimmy Carter, where Zbigniew Brzezinski talked about his dream of a technocratic society, and they helped build up China as that society, and they're kind of a guinea pig state that became one of the most powerful, well, the most powerful in the world, and they are fascio-communist. They have a strange mixture that perfectly suits the government and allows people to still believe they have at least some kind of form of freedom, I guess. And with that, they have now things like social credit, where people are actually ranked on their credit as a good citizen, which involves how you speak about the government, how you treat the government, government officials, etc. And it allows you to eat at restaurants or not eat at restaurants, fly on planes or not fly on planes. Or if you have a score but just high enough, you can go on a plane and they'll have a high-pitched blasting beep in your ear to make you feel uncomfortable or even sick. This is full-fledged Orwellian authoritarianism. And remember, you question the police in China, and it'll be like this guy, strapped to a chair for making fun of police on social media. We reported on that at the time. And I believe this is all coming to a neighborhood near you soon. It already is. You have technocratic systems being built in places like Darwin, Australia, and throughout Australia, throughout Sweden, throughout Germany. We have it in Canada, in the United States. Facial recognition tied to possible social credit scores, which they might utilize Facebook for. Of course, Mark Zuckerberg worked with the Chinese government on their development of their facial recognition tools. And then, of course, you have full communist takeover of private property during this, the greatest depression of all time worldwide, where maybe 1 billion jobs might be wiped out worldwide by the time this is over, and just millions of businesses wiped out. They are seizing private property, saying they'll pay your rent, when in reality, they're just seizing control of your property, so they now own it and you. Cashless societies, if your money's in the bank, it's not yours, it's the bank's. If your money's always going to the banks via digital transactions and legal tender laws, it's never your money, it's always the bank's, and you are enslaved to the banking system and the government that controls it through that social contract usury. And then on top of that, you have forced vaccinations. On top of that, you have military police in the streets. On top of that, you have these crazy laws, Orwellian laws, that are not going to go away once this is all over. If you think it is, just remember the Patriot Act. Never forget. Now, we already see evidence of this in the United States. We've seen it for a long time, but this is just on steroids lately. Philadelphia man dragged off bus by cops for not wearing face mask. We have in Canada, Canadian police begin making home visits to check quarantine compliance. And of course, that comes after the head of the World Health Organization advocated governments around the world go into people's home and split up families if they might have a sore throat or whatever it might be. Complete control of private property. You don't have it anymore. By the way, I should also add, with things like H.R. 5717, the Gun Violence Prevention and Community Safety Act of 2020, sponsored, of course, by Hank Johnson, the guy who thought that Guam might sink if too many people walked on it. Smart guy, right? This would put a 30% tax on ammunition and a 50% tax on firearms, and would make it illegal for you to touch a firearm without going to a class and getting your license. Though in order to go to that class, you have to first touch a firearm to get that license. I mean, you have to do the training. So there's some strange loopholes in there. And then at the same time in Virginia, they are threatening people with 1 year in prison if they walk outside without permission to go to the grocery store, which we saw in Spain already. People are getting beaten up in the streets by police for doing that, and you cannot protest the pushes for gun control in Virginia when, on top of that, you have some of the biggest gun sales in recent history because of the insanity that's come down, especially with the possibility of people breaking into homes to get food because they're desperate to feed their family. Their jobs are gone. Their businesses are gone. Now remember, the World Health Organization head was one of the top members of the violent Ethiopian Communist Party. This is a fact. So take into account also, I want to bring up, I know I'm all over the place right now, but I want to bring up as many things as possible here for factoids that people need to know about. Bill Gates recently said that he fears that while the coronavirus won't kill as many people as he thought it would, that the shutdowns will kill a lot more people than the coronavirus itself. But then he says that we need the shutdowns, we need this to continue. What does that tell you about him when he's literally advocating something that'll kill a lot more people under the guise of saving people? This is the kind of person that he truly is. And don't forget the kinds of things that he sponsors. Don't forget Event 201. If you haven't Googled Event 201 yet, you should. As it says here, the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, in partnership with the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, hosted Event 201, a high-level pandemic exercise on October 18th, 2019 in New York, New York. The exercise illustrated areas where public-private partnerships will be necessary during the response to a severe pandemic in order to diminish large-scale economic and societal consequences. Well, and let's see what that's tied to. This Last American Vagabond article says all roads lead to dark winter. As it says, the leaders of two controversial pandemic simulations that took place just months before the coronavirus crisis, Event 201 and Crimson Contagion, share a common history: the 2001 biowarfare simulation, Dark Winter. Dark Winter not only predicted the 2001 anthrax attacks, but some of its participants had clear foreknowledge of those attacks. So keep that in mind. While at the same time you hear people like Dr. Fauci say that lockdowns will continue until there are no new cases of COVID-19. Or when you hear them in the UK say coronavirus UK lockdown restrictions could remain until cure or vaccine is found, and the original statement was could be into 2021. At some points they've even said maybe 2 years. And so again, running through all of what I just went through, I think there's a large likelihood that we will see a massive rise up of Chinese people, which could lead to one of the biggest genocides in history, considering how the Chinese government treats people that rise up against them. They are not good to people as far as human rights go, without a doubt. No government is, but they are definitely taking the cake on this one. And then at the same time, you have a bunch of lies about the numbers about coronavirus in China, where they're undercutting the numbers in China and claiming that no one has it, or few have it, when a lot more people clearly have it. Yet in the U.S., they're calling everything coronavirus, including pneumonia that wasn't caused by coronavirus, or multiple different strains of coronavirus that aren't novel coronavirus, which is fudging the numbers there. So first, China looks like they're going down. The U.S. is triumphant. And then it leads into the U.S., and then China says all is well. The economy in the U.S. is collapsing, and we're looking at possibly conservatively 60 to 70 million people's jobs lost. And then China rises up as a new world superpower, pushing social credit, pushing the cashless society, pushing technocracy, pushing their fascio-communist model, which the UN loves. The UN has been talking about basing their headquarters, or the IMF has, in Beijing for years, and we've been reporting on that for years. It's a perfect takeover. And we all need to be very wary of that, because I believe that this has been in the playbook for many years, going back to Henry Kissinger meeting with Mao Zedong. And he even said recently that the current New World Order is at risk, but he never said anything about the next New World Order. And the next New World Order is China, I do believe, 100%. So anyway, I did this report in the middle of the night here. I have to be somewhat quiet. That's why I'm talking so closely into the microphone. But anyway, I hope you got something out of this video. I believe that this kind of tyranny is coming to a place near you. There's a reason why I am in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico right now, because it's my responsibility to stand up for my own individual freedom, and it's yours too. And no government's going to save you. Only you will save yourself. And I really hope you do. I hope you start waking up. I know there's lots more people waking up just by looking at Bill Gates' Instagram feed lately. But the problem with that is being awake and doing something are two different things. So are people going to do anything about this? I don't know. I've not seen it yet. Not a lot. I've seen Ammon Bundy. He's basically the one hero on the block that's actually doing something right now. But anyway, I appreciate everyone watching. Hit that like button. Check those links below. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Like what you see here, don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar. We really can't do it without you. We've been so insanely shadow banned, about 90% at this point, and 95% demonetized. As Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, comes in and says that she is shutting down quote-unquote controversial content and cutting out the views on this controversial content by 70%. She's been bragging about it. We need your help more than ever in this battle for truth in information. You guys are what keeps us alive, so we really appreciate just even $1 a month makes a huge difference. If everyone could give just $1 a month, we wouldn't even have to worry about competing against the mainstream propaganda networks. You can also donate to our Bitcoin address on the screen for you to scan if you please, as well as in the comments and description. Liking and sharing makes a big difference as well, and finding us on alternative social media platforms like float.app, that's flote.app, makes a huge difference. We're at Josh Sigurdson as well as at Wham. Float is replacing Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon all in one with encrypted private messaging, and of course monetization on videos for creators, live streams with super chats in crypto, and most of all, no algorithm, because at the end of the day, it's all about reach, guys. This is all about actually reaching people with the message and waking up the public. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, Minds, BitChute, all sorts of different platforms. Try to follow us on as many things as possible, because very soon this channel will very likely just be completely deleted from YouTube, and you'll never see us again, and you'll be stuck with only the mainstream networks. Also, come on out and see us at Anarcho Vegas 2020 in Las Vegas, Nevada in July, where such speakers such as G. Edward Griffin and many others will be speaking. You could use promo code WHAM on your VIP tickets and save 10%, as well as buy extremely cheap tickets for just $20.20. You won't find a cheaper conference than this with such amazing names. Check anarchovegas.com for more information on that. We hope to see you out there. And anyway, I really appreciate all of you guys joining us. You make it possible for us to survive in this volatile, propagandized climate. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.
Bye.